Patty?
All right.
Done.
All right, today is Tuesday, February 26th. It is 6:01 PM. I'll quickly run down the agenda for new and ongoing business, just so folks at home and in the audience know what we'll be talking about. New business, we'll be discussing vaping. Ongoing business is Flint Road landfill, followed by H Foot Road, Berry Corner Road, and Eleanor Lane. Third up on ongoing business, Burlingame Road water testing. Fourth will be Valley Green Grow project proposal for 44 Old Worcester Road. And then finally, for ongoing business, marijuana discussion. We do have several people in the audience, and unless there's any issue with folks are time constrained, we'll go ahead and start with our new business. Vaping. Last week, this board met with, some of us met with the selectmen regarding vaping. I was not able to attend. However, I did see some of the video, and thank you for attending. And Kathleen, thank you for reading my brief statement. That was appreciated. So what was the gist of the meeting for the audience, and any takeaways as far as what we can do for a board? Yes.
My takeaway from the board was, it was an awareness. You know, we gotta make it aware that vaping is not a substitute for cigarettes and tobacco. The awareness part of the health risks from vaping, like you said, some are equivalent to a pack of cigarettes or whatnot. So it's not a easy button, yeah, vaping, you're all set, you know, that it is addicting. So my takeaway from the meeting and from the vaping is we need to make some type of awareness. We also spoke, and we got some good info from the superintendent of Bay Path and what the schools are doing to detect the actual vaping things. And they have like what do they say? It's like a metal detector, right?
It's like a detector, and it's in all the bathrooms, so if you vape, and this is John LaFlex, the superintendent, with the business manager, Dean Yakabuchi. Matt and I spoke with him after the meeting, and I asked him what his plan was for vaping. Like Matt said, there are detectors that you can buy in the school, so if that goes off, they immediately have school resources in there, they'll know that they're vaping, so they can be detected. They have them in the halls, they have them in the bathrooms.
So I thought that was pretty good as far as being able to catch, you know, catch the kids are doing. The other thing, Kathleen, sorry, but the other thing was, you know, we were talking about, what if the stores in our town, you know, are caught selling to the minors? So we had a discussion about that. And, you know, is there fines and what's the process on that? I didn't say it last week, but generally speaking, in this town, we haven't had a problem with underage sales. There have been some, but they've been very limited, and it's been years that I know about. I don't know the last one that you've, but it's not a problem.
It's not a problem. We have stings, tobacco stings. Now remember, it's 21, so you have to be 21 years old to buy any of the vaping products. If you violate it, they have stings, and then you'd get a ticket. It's a minimal ticket, that's the problem. It really doesn't fit it, but some of our stores won't even sell vaping products, like Ted's Variety. They have nothing to do with vaping. They're just the small honey farms, the small country farms. I think there's 4 or 5 that they determined that are selling those in Charlton. That's it. Now I think we're already down to 4. That's it.
Yes, Kathy.
So my takeaway was that the select board was very interested and very committed to doing something about this. The discussion that we had with them was a healthy, definitive discussion where there was some serious concern by all the board members, Board of Health and Board of Selectmen. And in the end, I think we all agreed that it's a matter of educating parents and the, as well as grandparents, because they have grandchildren that are vaping, and a lot of parents don't understand how difficult it was. And up until a few months ago, I really didn't get it until I started researching it, and I realized how damaging it is. The thing I wanted to ask was, there was, and I think Karen just mentioned that there was something in the paper last week, I think it was Webster, that has banned all vaping materials to be sold in town, and only to be sold at designated marijuana spots. And I was wondering if that was something that we could do here, or would it make sense to do it? What are your thoughts?
You could do, the board could eliminate them, but you'd have to hire an attorney to write up the regulations or adopt it. We'd have to contact the Department of Public Health to write us, because we've never, no, we'd have to write up our own and be adopted. You don't have to post it as in a paper or anything, but if you're gonna adopt it, you just, during your regular meeting, we would notify the people that are selling this product, that they would be prohibited. But remember, if it's 21 and you buy it, it is legal. It's like cigarettes. It's the same, yet it's
Right.
less. So why don't we do away with cigarettes, in my opinion? But we're gonna do away with vaping because it leads to cigarettes. So I'm not that I'm for smoking in any way, shape, or form, but I'm not sure it's worth the effort. I'd rather see someone vape than smoke cigarettes, in my opinion, if you're 21 and you're able to. And I think that's what you're gonna eliminate. They're gonna go right to tobacco. So if you're trying to eliminate them from smoking and you eliminate the vaping, which is make you 4 times more likely to smoke, they said in the infomercials, but it's really not the higher nicotine end that cigarettes are. So some people, in lieu of smoking cigarettes, vape. So we have to look at it that way too. If you eliminate the vaping totally and it's gone, they're just gonna go to another town and gonna vape anyway, or they're gonna buy cigarettes,
Yeah,
which are not illegal and which are way worse than vaping.
I think that taking it out of regular stores that sell tobacco and putting it only where marijuana is sold might be, as much as I'm against.
We don't have anyone right now, and it looks like it's gonna be quite a while before we do have anyone selling
Yeah.
marijuana.
I can just see, I have to wait, I have to drive to another store and wait in line, and people are now thinking that I'm using marijuana.
And there's the
all I'm
competitive
doing
spirit.
Is going.
You kind of monopolize the marijuana to encourage them to go there to get vaping materials and marijuana rather than go to a regular store. I don't know, there's pros and cons to all of it. I'm not for any kind of smoking, but I think that I'd rather see someone vape legally than smoke cigarettes, which are 10 times worse and more invasive to the things that would happen. So, yeah. But that's the board's decision. If the board decides they want to eliminate it, we have to go follow a process. But there's only 4 stores that are selling it, and I say only 4. I don't think they have big sales, because I spoke to the man at Honey Farms. He says, we don't sell a lot of it, and there's a lot there. I even took pictures of what they did have. They're anticipating the big rush when the marijuana place opens up, that they would use these devices for not only vaping, but using for marijuana.
So basically, nobody can buy these unless they're over 21 anyway.
Gotta be 21.
Right. So.
But somehow it's getting into the hands of underage bakers, obviously, because we're hearing now middle school, high school, certainly not 21.
Yeah, and I could see if we had 25, 30 stores, 50 stores. We have very minimal stores. I'm just gonna go to Southbridge or a neighboring community to buy them.
If I may, and part of that reason may be because the new legislation just went into effect in January. So some of the children may have had it, but it was maybe 18 to buy that product then. So now that it's 21, I think there'll be a trickle out period for that. But yeah, it's gonna be more difficult for the underage to get it, because it is that 21.
I think it's, if I may, Mr. Chairman, I think it's the fashion to say that we're gonna eliminate vaping. Well, I'd like to eliminate smoking cigarettes, but if someone to me said, I have a nicotine addiction and I'm gonna vape instead, I think that's a better alternative than it is to smoking cigarettes. But if you eliminate that, they're just gonna smoke. So is that a better way, or for their public health, or in?
Well, we're not talking about eliminating, with all due respects, we're just talking about not being able to buy it.
Yeah, you'd eliminate it.
No, you can buy it in the marijuana store.
Yeah, but then you're encouraging people to go to a marijuana facility to get vaping materials, and you're eliminating someone who's trying to sell it down the street who doesn't want to be associated with marijuana. So you're kind of associating the two together, the marijuana and the vaping. I'm not sure if that's the right message you
Well,
want
I'm
to
not
send.
sure either, Jim, but I think it's worth looking into, and I guess at the very least, what I'd like to do is put this back on our agenda for maybe in September when school starts, or possibly October, to see if there's been an increase or decrease, or what's been going on. Is there some way we can make a determination as to whether the vaping is increasing from now, from February of 2019?
Yes.
We can certainly do whatever the board wants. You want to eliminate vaping and put it in a marijuana store, but we don't want to encourage opening a marijuana store so we can sell vaping products. And we don't have any stores right now that are selling marijuana, and I don't foresee it happening for quite a long time.
Well, I'm kind of backed off from that, Jim.
Okay.
So what I was suggesting was that we put it on our agenda for next fall to see, put the issue of vaping on the agenda for next fall, just to see whether it's, whether.
I did get the cancer rates for Charlton, which they sent to me, and they're down in a lot of cases. Every couple of years or every year, they send out the not marijuana, but the cancer rates for Charlton residents based on data that they have, and it seems to be decreasing. I think I did send it to all the board
I got
members.
Yeah, we got it, yeah.
So, and it's a thing, but I think that it'd be we could, if the board decided, eliminate the vaping, but then you'd have to have a clause there that it would only be sold in a certain,
I already backed off from that.
yeah. Okay.
I have a question.
They don't want to be sold anywhere, because it doesn't matter. to
Let
me.
the record show that Kath.
Until next fall.
But they,
And I will be back.
but they will be selling vaping, when you go to the marijuana thing, which is under the Cannabis Control Commission. I'm not sure if we can eliminate the vaping products for the medical marijuana, it's part of it, is what I'm saying. They will be selling vaping materials for medical patients, so I don't think we have authority to eliminate it for medical.
I'm not suggesting that we eliminate it, period, at this moment.
I have a question. I have a question. The vaping for tobacco, nicotine, whatever, is that the same type of instrument, whatever it's called, the pen or whatever, that you would see also in marijuana facilities? Do you have any idea? 'Cause
I'm not, for sure, I haven't seen one of the marijuana. Some of them are sticks, they look like a pen, some look like would be a thumb drive.
Right.
They're a little bigger. I did end up taking pictures at the stores to get an idea of what they look like. It's hard to determine what they are. If they were carrying you in your pocket, you wouldn't even know what they were, but they have quite a bit of a selection in all different types of flavors, and it cannot be out, as we discussed, for anyone to touch that's underage. They have to be locked behind a cabinet. If you wanted me to show your ID, before you purchase them.
I just have a general question, Jim, it's for you, but I don't know if you know the answer, but do you know, as Charlton bumped its cigarettes to the 21 as of January 1st, correct? Do you know if Dudley did that, or if Dudley's playing by the grandfather rule?
I did speak to Tom. I believe there was only one community that did that, and I'm not sure it's one, but I don't believe it's Dudley. Because Webster and Dudley and Southbridge went to 21 right away. I know Southbridge is 21, we're 21, Auburn's 21. I just had a conference call today. But I know there's one community that allowed it, but I'm not, Matt,
I was just curious.
there is one community that did, but I'm not sure of the community.
And to clarify, Jim, when you say one community, this is in an area, is this Worcester County, southern Worcester County?
It would be Worcester County.
Worcester County, so that's the largest county in the state.
74 municipalities, yeah.
74 towns.
Yep.
Okay, so that tells you something.
Hmm.
That people are serious about that.
Yeah, it is. And you know what, I'm not for tobacco, I'm an anti-tobacco person. I'm not for any kind of smoking. It appalls me when someone's next to me and I'm there with my family and someone decides, just because they're outside, they're gonna light a cigarette. It's just, and even if they're vaping in line, I just tap them on the shoulder and say, put it out, please.
There you go. And then show them your credentials,
No, I
especially if you're in
understand.
town. So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's a situation where I think all of the municipalities decided, and some stores on their own decided to go directly to 21. Even if the boards decided to do this tiered, they were going right to 21 because they don't want to sell to. It's too difficult to make a mistake if it's tiered. You have to have this calendar with a date up there. If you're born on this date, you can. It makes, you know, when you have a cashier that's there that's young, it's very difficult to make a mistake, and then you're subjected to fines and then loss of product, so.
So between now and whenever we do get this on the agenda, and Kathleen, I'm with you on this, I think we do need to continue talking about this. We can do some research. I spent very little time on this, probably an hour or so, looking at some of the vaping stories and concerns. I was more concerned with people under 21 getting hooked on nicotine, which then they would be hooked for the rest of their life. Along those same lines, remember in the 1960s, about 50% of adults were tobacco smokers, and now I think it's about 23%, give or take a small percentage, which is good. And one of the reasons why is not just because of the education, but because the cost of a pack of cigarettes or a carton of cigarettes has gone up. And the states have been putting on additional taxes as they go. And I'm all for that. So I don't know, this is something we can look at in the future. And I'm not saying we can put a tax on vaping. I still don't understand how the vaping equates to a pack of cigarettes. Is it cheaper? Is it about the same? Because the way to discourage it is to hurt new users from taking on vaping if it hits them in the pocketbook hard. And, you know, it's sad
I'm
to
not
say,
sure
but
the
sometimes
cost.
you have to
I
do it.
didn't, that's
Well,
one thing I didn't look at, so.
I saw that, and they said $13
I know the
for.
cost is $40 for the starter pack with Juul. We both have kids in the high school. It's an epidemic in the high school. I have a son in the middle school. It's in the middle school. I don't know if any of you have spoken to the school nurses. That might
speak
be a
to
good
this-
idea.
The school nurses have to report to me any kind of illness, anything that's subjected to.
But this isn't really an illness. This is an epidemic.
No, but it's an epidemic, but it does
Yeah.
affect health, so they have to. But the Dudley Charlton School District, Jamie Terry, who is doing some of our work for Title V with the loss of Jim, is on the school committee, the Dudley, as a Charlton representative. She said they're taking this serious, as I wish to adopt the same policy as Bay Path and have those detectors, but I think it starts at home too.
Well,
Where are kids getting $40 to buy this? That's expensive for someone who.
True. The kids get it from other kids.
Yeah.
That's how they get it. And then those kids probably get it from adults that bought it in the store. So it's the same way that people used to get alcohol, right? I mean, they get it from
Sure.
other people
Yeah,
that
yeah.
bought it for them. But in the school, they're doing a really good job educating the kids. I do think about it. They've had different nights about it. They send flyers out. There's stuff on their social media about it. So they're doing a good education campaign there. But I do think it's quite an epidemic. It's worth looking at. And like you mentioned, Mr. Sanborn, the bigger issue is this is Philip Morris and company or the other big tobacco companies coming in, taking a grab at the younger kids and saying you can hook them for a duration,
For
right?
life.
This is our revenue stream here.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And the other thing that you may or may not be aware of is the device itself is tiny, like you mentioned. It looks like a flash drive or whatever. And that thing heats up with little coils, a liquid cartridge.
Yep.
These tiny little cartridges that come in different concentrations. And not only do they come in different concentrations, but they come in different flavors, and they also come in THC versus tobacco. So they extract the oil, they put it in the cartridge, and the oil has a much, much higher concentration than anything you'd see in a cigarette. That's how that all works. The thing heats up to like 400 degrees to make the vape, which is a vapor that the kids then inhale. It's really bad for you.
It is, it's dangerous. I mean, I'll keep an eye on it, I only have a few stores to enforce, I stop by constantly. They know they're not gonna sell to anyone underage. The thing is, someone buys them for someone else, and then
Right.
they sell them to younger kids, and that's the problem. So, and if we didn't, all the towns around do sell them. I think Webster, like you said, eliminated the flavored, which they're all into the, I don't know, there's so many different flavors, I couldn't even count them.
And growing too,
Yeah.
from what I read.
Yep, and that's something that, they're right, they can add the THC to that, and you wouldn't even know. I mean, they're doing all kinds of stuff, but
It actually kind of smells nice sometimes. I walked through a cloud of it, I was so embarrassed. I said to my kid, like, oh, it smells perfumey. He goes, Mom, it's that guy vaping the blueberry over there. I'm like, oh, I'm so embarrassed.
they do, that's their way of attracting and not causing a nuisance to people, but I'm not for them in any way, the vaping, but.
So, through the chair,
Mhm.
other than putting it on the agenda and doing more research, is there any other action items that we can take?
I was thinking about putting something on our website, a video. I'm assuming that there's already some sort of government video about, just short,
We're
a
looking-
minute or two.
We're looking for one, I'm trying to look for the one that Comcast has, a short video that is really targeting young children about the dangers of vaping. And I don't know if it belongs to the CDC, but I'm gonna try and find out tomorrow. I have a class in Marlboro with a food safety update class, and I'm gonna ask some of the other health directors if they have any, anything we could use, or know of anything that we could use, because the state will be there teaching the class, that if we can get any materials that we can put on our website, because we now have control of our own website. The changes in the town, we can actually control what we put on it. We don't have to go through Lisa Westwell and wait for her to put it on. We're actually going to be interacting and changing. Our website can change often.
Our board or all boards?
All boards.
All boards,
Yeah.
okay.
Not
Okay.
yet, though, it's not the first.
No, it's working on it, and Kim and Andrea are working on it, and making sure we update. And I think that's something, but I'm not sure, I wish we had a counter that would show how many times people visit the Board of Health website.
It's Kathleen going on there every hour, 'cause I'm just kidding.
No, I think this is gonna be I'd like to put it on like maybe the Charlton channel,
Yeah.
and get it on a more of an audience, or someone suggested the selectman, the person who does the town channel, he does.
Dick Vaughn?
Dick Vaughn, and have maybe Dick Vaughn do something on that. They'd like me to go sit with Dick Vaughn and talk about the dangers and do some community outreach, and when you're a board member also, remember we discussed it maybe, I think you brought it up.
Yeah.
I'm not sure,
Yeah.
but, yeah, I mean, that's
We just need to get a bigger target audience.
Well, I'm suggesting then that we don't wait until September. I think we move vaping from new business to ongoing business, and because we're meeting on average every 3 to 4 weeks, so September will be here.
I think we should keep it on there.
Yes, we should. And then as you get something, we'll have it on there. You, Matt, Jim.
And I will, with your permission, Mr. Chairman, I will contact Cheryl Sabara, who does Massachusetts Boards of Health, and ask her if she has some kind of verbiage for the elimination of vaping. So if you want to take a look at it in one of your meetings, doesn't mean you have to, but at least you'll know what we have to do if at some point in time you want to possibly eliminate the flavored portion of it, or do whatever you want. At least we'll have a legal opinion of, in the language that we will have it ready.
One other thing, Jim, along those lines, if they do have any of these little brochures you see out on the table by the Board of Selectmen's room, if there's anything that the state of Massachusetts or the CDC, you said,
CDC.
anything like that that we could get, hopefully free, and distribute. I don't think the kids are gonna pick them up, but the idea is to get to the parents, and make them aware, and hopefully keep kids from getting addicted.
So one of the suggestion is that if, Jim, if you do go on the TV show with Dick Vaughn, maybe somebody like Kristen Castigian could go with you, because she's got a lot of knowledge, and just like
You know what,
she just
she's
said.
also much better looking than me, so I think she
Well,
would go.
Wow.
you could both go and present it from different points of view.
Yeah,
I
if
think
there's a
that-
family with children are using it, and on the health side, the dangers, I
Yeah.
think we need to also go right to the tobacco issue also,
Yeah.
not only just vaping.
Would that be something you would do?
I would
Kristen?
certainly help, yeah. Is there any chance that we could stick a blurb in the town meetings coming up? Like, couldn't you just stick a flyer in for all the people that show up at that, and be like, here's information?
Yeah.
Well, I think the selectmen may talk about it anyway. We did meet before the selectmen,
Last week.
Matt, Kathleen, and myself. We did talk about vaping and what we can do as a community to get education out there. I think it was just a start, and I think that's why we need to have a continued discussion of where to go. I think the school committee and parents all need to know. And I think Bay Path, like Matt said, that's in the zero tolerance. If you get caught vaping,
I agree, but that's $1,000 per detector, so not every school's gonna afford that.
well, I'm sure they'll send the bill to the town, show up in Dudley, so.
That's not how it works.
Well, that's
Sure.
an idea to put a flyer into the town, or have somebody standing there and passing them out.
Or even in the villager, an blurb, from the health department. Make
Well,
yourself.
maybe there's some of this marijuana money that was given dangerous for education, seeing we can put THC in it, maybe we can use some of that $50,000 that's coming from Green Gold Group. which I don't know where it is, but supposedly there was some money that was supposed to be for education.
Okay,
Well, I'll run it by the selectmen and see if we can do something like that, if that's all right with you.
sure, fine with me. Anything that'll help.
Yeah, I'll contact John LaFleche, Superintendent of Baycott, and ask him for where did he get them, and if he could give us some information on them.
Sure.
I can forward it to you.
Okay, questions?
Yes,
Hi, Noreen Johnson-Smith at 136 Dresser Hill Road. I worked at the Department of Public Health in Boston previously, and we've had a robust Massachusetts tobacco control program for what feels like 20 years in this state. And on the Mass Association of Health Boards website, Charlton is identified on a map of one of less than a third of the communities in this state that have no regulations relative to tobacco. 2/3 of the communities have adopted regulations around marketing to children, display and availability of retail shops that carry flavored tobacco products. There's a whole list of other policy actions that a health board can take to impact youth access to and use of tobacco products. But Charlton is listed
It's
as not having
incorrect,
done
because
any of those.
we've been belonging to Tobacco Coalition for past, I don't know, 15 years.
Yeah.
But she left. The person who was director of the Tobacco Coalition left. And when she left, when they emailed all the communities, they forgot about Charlton. Charlton was eliminated from it, so I asked why they didn't send it to us. I think her name is Smith, Mrs. Smith. She ran the Worcester Tobacco Coalition. She left, so someone else took it over. We were eliminated from that and missed the boat. But all that was included in that was only the stings, the tobacco stings in the store, which they've done, because last year I wrote a ticket to four tickets for violation of selling tobacco. And we just adopted the tobacco law to 21 also, so.
I understand, but it's regulations relative to the availability and retail sale of flavored tobaccos and other things that contribute to youth use. So it's in addition to the stings, which are enforcement activities.
Yeah, the stings were before vaping was really getting to the point where it's big. I think marijuana certainly pushed this vaping thing forward a little quicker. And I think that we don't have any marijuana sales in Charlton right now. I think they're stating they will be opening, but they have to comply with DOT regulations and they have to they have to tie into the water line, so it's gonna be quite a while.
if there's some material that you do have, please forward it to Jim.
I know what she's talking about, I've been on that.
Oh, you
That's-
can forward it to all of us, and I will check that out, because I hadn't seen that myself.
I think
So thanks
Noreen
for-
would be a better person to speak on that. Sure. Absolutely, well qualified.
Ray, would you mind?
I'm sorry, I missed what
She
the
walked in.
invitation
She
was.
had asked me
No,
originally
no,
to
you'll be on
speak
TV,
on,
it's okay, just
with
say
a
yes.
public
Yeah.
service and on that topic, and
Now,
you're
regarding
much
tobacco
more, you're much
control,
more
there are so
qualified.
many people that could contribute to that conversation. I mean, it really has been years and years and years that we've been taking action. And I heard the Board of Health at the Board of Selectmen meeting say, well, there's really nothing we can do as a health board to stop youth from using, but that's really not true. You have regulatory authority, and you are the only board, in fact, that can make changes that would help control the spread of tobacco among children.
Yeah, but if all the communities around, Mr. Chairman, if I may, they'll all work together, because I belong to the steering committee, which is 74 committees, I'm the vice chairman, I belong to LSAC. If we don't all work together, they're just gonna go to the next town. So we can do what we want in Charlton, we only have 4 or 5 stores in Charlton that really sell tobacco. Is that, yes, we can eliminate, totally, you can eliminate tobacco in Charlton. That doesn't mean you're gonna eliminate the tobacco issue if the neighboring communities aren't the same.
That's correct, but it is not a reason to not take action as a community if it's something of a public health concern. And eventually, communities catch up with each other. And right now, 2/3 of communities have at least one of 5 different forms of regulations of tobacco that they've adopted. So there's no reason for us to not participate.
Yeah, I agree.
I'd just like to make a point, like Steve Corona, 17 Old Worcester Road. About a year ago, we had, downstairs, we had Sheriff Lou Evangelides coming for an anti-drug program, and we had 25 eighth graders, Leos and Boy Scouts, and one of the first questions he asked was, who knows what juuling is?
What?
I didn't even know what juuling was. Juuling is
Juuling?
vaping.
Okay, yeah.
Every single eighth grader, it was all middle school, eighth grade kids, raised their hand. Every single one of them knew what it was. And then it started a conversation on the way home. My son, he's like, Dad, yeah, they get suspended, detention, kicked off the bus. They're vaping on the bus all the time. So I think for a barometer, rather than ask the nurse whether there's a problem in the schools, ask what type of detentions or how many offenses from vaping happen. I think you'd be surprised by the number. Every single kid, eighth grade kid, raised their hand, they knew what juuling was. The adults in the room were sitting in the back, we didn't know what it was. And juuling was that most common sense of vaping, I guess.
It's like Kleenex, it's a tissue.
And if you go into the honey farms out on Route 20, I wanted to take a picture and
I
send it
have
to
them.
you all. Do you, of the
It's a
display?
big, colorful glass display about 6 feet high with,
And at child eye level,
yep,
of all of the flavored products.
they're all there.
Yep,
Yep. I took
Is
pictures
it
of it.
Honey Farms?
At Honey Farms.
in Charlton.
Every single store, I took the pictures of where everything was and made sure it was behind in a lock so it's not accessible. And like I said, this is, to me, it is a new thing. It's attracting the wrong crowd, but so is tobacco. And tobacco's been legal for a long, long time, and I'm not for tobacco either. So if you're gonna really worry about people getting addicted, I think you can start with the vaping, but are you really gonna ban tobacco? And that's the thing, because the commercials that I've seen said that you're 4% more likely to, if you vape, to smoke. And I don't know if you've seen them on Comcast, and they're like Muppet, it's like a Muppet commercial, and I'm trying to get access to that, but it's certainly, they're really running it constantly, so.
Yes.
I was just gonna say, the kids will tell you that nobody smokes. They'll tell you only old people smoke. The vaping is that generation, so I don't know, I would worry more about the new trends.
Yeah, I'm not for the vaping at all, and I don't think that, but I think it starts at home too with the children. You check their
Oh, I totally
backpacks
agree. I totally
and
agree.
make sure before they leave, they don't have these things to bring to school, you know?
But like Steve said, I mean, a year ago, parents didn't know what juuling was. right?
I didn't know what juuling was.
Every eighth
I did
grader,
not.
every kid did. We were shocked by the,
Mhm. Once you have kids in the middle school and high school, you will know.
Yes.
So the Mass Association of Health Boards has a map of the state that shows communities that have adopted regulations on tobacco retail. It includes 172 communities have a ban of tobacco sale in pharmacies. 112 communities have a cap on the number of retail licenses to sell tobacco. 186 have minimum legal sale age of 21. Some of these are outdated policies, but we don't have anything in Charlton. Restriction on the packaging of cheap cigars, 164 communities have restrictions on that. Restrictions on the sale of flavored products, 124 communities have passed bans on that. And 133 out of the 351 cities and towns have no retail tobacco policies, including Charlton. And this is the Mass Association of Health Boards Tobacco Control map for the state. So you can go to their website.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I would remember that, thank you.
Yep.
So we'll keep it on the agenda and maybe we can start adopting some of the regulations.
Whatever we get from meeting to meeting, I think the more information we have, the better. And if there's something that we can do to get some kids from not starting this, I think it's somewhat of a win.
I'll call, I'm sure you know Cheryl Sabara. I'll call Cheryl, very good, I talk to her all the time, ask her, like I said, to get some kind of draft, but as far as, you know, Charlton's not a big metropolitan area with tons and tons of stores, doesn't minimize it any, but there are really only 5 stores. The Honey Farms you're at, the one that's next to it, Ted's, and we have the one on the corner of Oxbow and the Country Farms. That's it.
Did you include Food Mart?
The food, which, oh yeah, and the Food Mart, which we, and then also there's Swifties that just opened last week on 169, that it just got the license from the state.
There's also a Massachusetts clearinghouse which has free materials that you can order by the hundreds, and they'll ship you a crate of materials to
That's
distribute.
where we got all that, those 2 boxes are full.
Great.
We ran out, we called, within 3 days, they shipped us another 50
Yep,
for
they have
free.
a ton of variety of materials aimed at tobacco education for young people.
The town's having a health fair, Mr. Chairman, soon, and we'll be participating in that April 30th, I believe. And that's when I think we can bring some of the vaping stuff, because a lot of the adults and parents bring the children. It's at the library, and we'll have a booth set up, so
Good,
if anyone's around on the 30th, you wanna,
I should be.
Well, the other thing, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
The 27th of April is the Earth Festival here in the Common, and it might be a good idea to have some kind of a table there with information, anti-vaping information. Maybe something colorful, I don't know, I'm just throwing this out to the community. Maybe some kind of a colorful thing that would draw kids in,
And then scare the heck out of
Scare the
them.
heck out of them.
Tell them what it's gonna cost them for a lifetime of nicotine addiction.
Right,
What
right.
it'll
I
do
think-
to their
I think-
brain.
I think when you disguise the odor from vaping with all this blueberry stuff, and now we're getting into the marijuana oils and all the other things, the reason that's so attractive is, I was in Florida and someone was smoking, vaping marijuana beside me, and it smelled like blueberry.
Okay, it was marijuana,
But it took a little while for me to really get the distinct smell.
right?
It was
Get
an older
high.
kid. But as we're heading down that road, the vaping is a definite first stop, but we have to probably slow down before we jump into what we're.
Mr. Jordan.
I'll be jumping into.
John Jordan, 68 H-Foot Road. I know our board is not comprised the same way that Southbridge's Board of Health is, but I know they have a ton of subcommittees. I don't know if we could have a subcommittee that includes some of these people who know far more than I do, and a Board of Health member to sit on it that concerning just vaping, just to investigate a bunch of options that we could do as a town to take, instead of putting it all on Jim and all on the board that meets once a month and giving you guys a ton of work. Maybe if some volunteers would create a subcommittee that reports to the board. I don't know if